The Mike Wagner Show is powered by Sonic Web Studios.
Hi, this is Mia Mosensia, also known as Mia No Time for Love. Check out my latest book, Missing, available in print and ebook formats on Amazon.
It's now time for the Mike Wagner Show, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. The Mike Wagner Show can be heard on Spreaker, Spotify, iHeartradio, YouTube, iTunes, Anchor FM, Radio Public, and the MikeWagnerShow.com. Mike brings you great guests and interesting people from all across the globe. So sit back, relax, and enjoy another great episode of the Mike Wagner Show.
Hey everybody, it's Mike from the Mike Wagner Show, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. Looking at a professional website without breaking your budget, Sonic Web Studios is the answer. Sonic Web Studios offers fast, affordable custom web designs that blow the competition away. Call today, 1-800-303-3960. That's 1-800-303-3960. Or email to support@sonicwebstudios.com. Mention the Mike Wagner Show, get 20% off your first project. Sonic Web Studios, take your image to the next level. Also, time to give official shout out to our official sponsor of the Mike Wagner Show, international warring author Mia Mosensia. If you love fast-paced mysteries, you'll love Missing by Mia Mosensia, available on Amazon in paperback and ebook. Missing is fast-paced and intriguing with an unforgettable twist. Takes place in 4 countries, 2 strangers, 1 target, where truth is an illusion and those you love will be the first to go missing. It's available on Amazon in paperback and ebook. Missing by Mia Mosensia has garnered great reviews and even loved and endorsed by Howard celebrities, including Joanna Cassie, Forbes Riley, and many others. So grab your copy today for Goes Missing by Mia Mosensia, available on Amazon. Also, check out the Mike Wagner Show at themikewagnershow.com on over 30 podcast platforms, including Facebook, SoundCloud, Spreaker, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. Also, Anchor FM, iTunes, Google Play, Amazon, Audible, Apple Music, coming to the Hamilton Radio Network, and a few others as well. Take the Mike Wagner Show with you on any mobile device. Subscribe to the Mike Wagner Show on the YouTube channel. Follow the Mike Wagner Show on Instagram and Twitter today. And for great gift ideas, go to Amazon.com and check out the Mike Wagner Show podcast. T-shirts, pop sockets, throw pillows, tote bags, hoodies, and more. Makes great gifts 24/7. Amazon.com and check out the Mike Wagner Show podcast. And for more great gift ideas, go to Amazon.com/Mia Mosensia for great books like Missing, Want Some Wrinkles, and cool merchandise like T-shirts, pop sockets, hoodies, phone cases, and more. Amazon.com/Mia Mosensia. Check it out today. Also support the Mike Wagner Show on Anchor FM, PayPal, themikewagnershow.com. You can buy me a coffee at buymeacoffee.com at the Mike Wagner Show. Make sure you do so today. We're here with 2 terrific people just coming together on simultaneous projects. We have a couple of legends we got on board. We have an amazing award-winning promoter, author, DJ, songwriter, and researcher with 40 years of experience. He's won numerous awards in British blues and also picked up a couple Lifetime Achievement Awards. He's a host of a rock and blues show on Get Ready to Rock Radio in the UK, contributed to numerous publications, including Classic Rock Blues, and also wrote a book accompanying Family, Once Upon a Time, and also a gentleman who's also a musician from Detroit, Michigan, relocated in the UK. He was coveted by Motown Records, very talented. He opened up for bbking, Bobseger, Iggypop before moving to the UK by Iketurner Management. He teamed up with Innessibun to form marcussibun, and by the way, he's a former guitarist for Robert Plant and also nominated by UK Blues Award, Best Male Vocalist, and more. And coming together is a very special project. We'll talk about that. Live, ladies and gentlemen, from the Plus Studios, we've got a gentleman from the UK and we got one in France. So going from both sides of the Atlantic over to here, ladies and gentlemen, we've got a project called Black Pearl. We have Marcusmalone and we have Pete Feenstra. Guys, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Thanks for joining us today.
Good afternoon, or evening it is.
Yeah, evening, and great to be here. And since we last corresponded, Mike, I'm actually back in London for a little while. So it's an hour different from what I thought it was going to be, but it's great to be here anyway.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's great the guys on board as well, too. Pete, you're a award-winning promoter, author, DJ, songwriter, researcher. You contribute to numerous articles, and you've also won some Lifetime Achievement Awards, including the British Blues, and you're also a host of a rock and blues show on Get Ready to Rock Radio, contribute to a number of articles, and you also wrote a book accompanying the Family, Once Upon a Time, and Marcus, you're from Detroit, and you got coveted by Motown Records. You opened for B.B. King, Bobseger, Iggy Pop, and more before moving to the UK, and you teamed up with innessibun to form marcussibun, and you guys also came together to form blackpearl, and we'll talk about that. Just an amazing collaboration. Yeah. And before we get into all that, Pete, talk about how you first got started.
How I got started was long time ago. I had no idea what I was going to do. I went to college, did all that, went traveling. Back in 1973, there was a local radio thing, local compared to this show anyway. Mm-hmm. And they put out a competition saying, we want to promote a band. This was back in the heyday of rock music. Who would you like to promote to see in Nottingham? That was my hometown at the time. Okay, and I said there was this band called Man from South Wales. We got to get them. Anyway, they ran with that. It was great. They booked it, and then I thought to myself, "Oh hell, we've got the band. I've got to make sure they get a crowd now." Without realising it, I got hold of everybody I ever knew. I said, "Look, you got to be there at this gig," and actually, it worked pretty well. Why I never pursued it after then, I really don't know. I never thought about being a promoter until 6 years later. After I finished university, I went traveling for 2 years. I went to India, Iran, Afghanistan, the Middle East, everywhere. Ended up in Denmark, had a job in a hotel, and the hotel had a theatre next door called the Trey Folk Alley. It's quite a famous, if you look in all the books on rock and roll, everybody played there. When I was there, Rod Stewart played there, the Kinks played there, Carlos Santana played there, all these people. And I had a first-hand kind of experience on how this all worked. I made loads of contacts. And the great thing about Denmark was they have this, you may not understand this in the States, but they have a public-private thing where the public domain puts up some of the money and then they hire people to do the job in the private sector. And the two of them come together. So in one building, you would have an arts thing on the third floor. On the second floor, you'd have a theatre, and the next floor, you'd have a gig. And then you have a restaurant probably at the top, something like that. Anyway, this was the place, Copenhagen, right? And it was fantastic. I had the best 6 months of my life. I met some of my heroes that I never, David Bowie, that we'd never meet again, ever. And then I came back to Britain, still had no idea about what it was. Anyway, cut a long story short, I became a music librarian. And as part of that, I'll speed this up. As part of that, I was a record buyer for a whole local authority. I had a lot of money to spend on the albums I liked. As long as people borrowed them, they weren't bothered about that, mm-hmm. So that was great. Anyway, as part of the librarian thing, they did a thing called outreach. They wanted to expand beyond books and the normal traditional ways at library. And that included gigs. It included talks and stuff like that. And eventually they gave me a venue. Right, they actually gave me a venue, local authority, 600 capacity venue in a part of town nobody really wanted to go. I thought, okay, I'm going to book. I looked around. It was post-punk. What happened to all the bands we used to like? They're still alive at the time. People are still alive. And I put two and two together and started promoting, and it worked. It just, and I never stopped after that. I never stopped. So I kind of fell into it, Mike. But I think it was like Marcus would probably tell you the same thing in his music career. It's passion. Excuse me. You don't stop when you really don't know where you're going or what you're doing, but because of passion, you can do a lot. And I think I probably did.
Mm-hmm. And you also been a DJ as well too. And how long have you been DJing? Was that part of the whole promotion thing?
That came about because I was working on a couple of. In fact, Marcus has played some of these. Couple of festivals, Skegness Rock and Blues Festival and the Minehead Giants of Rock Festival, and there's one in Worthing. And because I do a lot of MCing at my gigs, I MC them all. I'm quite well known for doing that. I got a call saying, Pete, do you want to MC this festival? I said, yeah, great. And they said, by the way, you've got to play all the music before the bands come on and all the rest of it, So the actual thing was, the actual music side of it, rock, blues, and everything else, I could do that at a drop of a hat. But the actual technical side of it, no, I'm not there. I'm not really. I'm a complete fraud when it comes to that, But anyway, as a result of that, this Get Ready to Rock Radio, who are very, very supportive, said, well, why don't you do a test here? And then it went well, and I've never stopped, And But the thing is, I've always had this. I've been very fortunate. I've had a tie-in between live music, which is my workplace, and DJing, which is an extension of that, really. So, but it's great when people come up to you, or bands come up to you. You give them some exposure that they wouldn't get anywhere else. And that's what we're all there for, Mike. In your case, you're talking to all sorts of interesting people. In our case, we're talking to primarily musicians, because one of my shows is an interview show, a bit like this. The other one is just playing music. But it's all interrelated. That's the great thing about it, I think.
Mm-hmm. And certainly is, too. It's not just music. It's just other aspects as well, too. Not just the entertainment, but the business, and also with medicine and everything else, what people need to know, and also be educated as well at the same time. And also, too, the fact that you've been in music business for a long time. Who are some of your favorite artists, singers, and songwriters and musicians growing up?
Growing up, well, Beatles. I started off with the Beatles like everybody else did, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Then I got into well, let me tell you a quick story. The whole reason I got into the blues, for example, there was a little kids program you wouldn't have heard of in the UK, but it had a house band, in the studio. And the house band turned out to be Alexis Korner Blues Incorporated. Now, for your listeners who don't know who that is, it was an all-star blues band that included Jack Bruce from Cream, Graham Bond, who was a very famous guy in his time, Dick Extell-Smith, who played with Colosseum and all sorts of people, and Alexis Korner himself, who's regarded as the grandfather of blues in Great Britain. I mean, wow. he was the guy that started it all off. Being 9 years old at the time, Mike, I really loved this thing. It was called Rhythm and Blues. I didn't really know what it was. The only thing was, I didn't get on with Alexis Korner's voice. He had this really gravelly baritone, and being 9 years old, you want kind of old mellow voice, really. So I got into that, and then I was always a record buyer. After the Beatles, you naturally got into the Spencer Davis Group, the Kinks, the Who you mentioned, all the kind of R&B stuff at the time. And then a great big epiphany. I got into Frank Zappa. Right now, Frank Zappa means a lot of different things to a lot of different people, but really, I wasn't getting on with some of the early stuff he did, but then he did Hot Rats, which was, to me, was just one of the great, all-time great instrumental. There's one song on it, but the rest of it's an instrumental album, guitar-driven album, and I just thought that was absolutely fantastic, So he was my main man then. Years later, my favourite artists became people I promoted. Why not? Walter Trout comes to mind. I actually did a big benefit gig for him when he got really ill, and he miraculously came back from the dead. And incredible guy, incredible guy who's worked with John Mayall's Blues Breakers, Canned Heat, and all these. And he's had a 30-year career himself now. And I just seen the guy close up. He works his socks off. He's very, very creative. And in all the years of having the success now, he's still the same guy now as when I first met him. And you can't say any more than that,
Oh.
Plus, one of my other favourites, of course, is a certain Mr. Marcus Malone.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Thank you.
I was just going to mention Marcus Malone. I was going to say, going from Pete to Marcus, and I'm glad you mentioned that. And Marcus, I'm getting a lot of love from the number one presenter in the world as well, too, Marcus. So, of course, you've been in UK for a while, but you originally grew up in Detroit, and you got coveted by Motown Records. You opened for bbking, Bobseger, Iggypop, and more before moving to the UK. You teamed up with innessibun, the former Marcus Sibun as well, too. And you won some awards as well, too. And tell us how you first got started, Marcus.
Oh, I first got started, as usual, in black families, parents get you started. I started off in church, actually, when I was about 6 years old, singing as you do with your parents. And they said, the pastor picked me out and said, I want to give him lessons. And a week later, I was singing solo, shaking already. But anyway, after that, I loved it. That was when I first really developed a passion for it. But I started singing every Sunday with the choir. And I love singing. I used to sing in school as well. And Detroit's Motown, as you know. So I was brought up on Motown, really. Marvin Gaye and the Temptations was probably my favorite group. The Four Tops was always who do you like? The Temptations of the Four Tops. I was a Temptation guy.
It sounds like a war between the Beatles and the Stones back then. You had your own war.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. You guys had the Rolling Stones and the Beatles. Yeah, I remember that. So I moved on there, and as I grew older, I started listening to other forms of music in my teens. I got introduced to, I went across the track, as it were, and got introduced. I went to Ann Arbor, Michigan, basically, and I used to hang out there. And I met Iggy and MC5 and Bobseger and all those guys. And I met a group called The Up. I met a drummer there. I wanted to do something different other than Motown at the time. Mm-hmm. So I wanted a break from that. I didn't forget Motown. Motown was always there, even in my writing and etc. I didn't go. Some people ask, well, what made you go from Motown? I said, I didn't believe it. I just kind of sidestepped for a little while. It's still there. And you can hear it in my writing. I think that I still love, the lyrics and the melodies that I sing. And I started going to a place in Detroit called the Grandy Ballroom. And that's where that's where I saw, like you did, Pete. I saw all the English stars, like Cocker, Led Zeppelin, The Who. It was like a venue in Detroit that all the English bands came through. And I used to hang out there at an early age and go back to Ann Arbor with everybody. And then, that's how it all started. And I loved it. And then I moved on to, I wanted to put a band together in Ann Arbor, and I did with the drummer from Up, Mr. Pereno, and his brother came back from, I think he was in the Army, and he came back and he wanted to manage, and he saw me and he said, look, I want to manage you. And he picked me up, and we got 3 guys out of Toledo, Ohio. And we put together, first we had a little cover band. And we were writing originals in the background that sounded like the covers. You weren't supposed to be doing originals if you got caught. I remember once we got caught. He goes, I told you not to play that stuff here.
Why? Why? You got the first gig to it. It's like, if you don't play it, someone else is will do that. Why?
Yeah. Right. We used to do we used to do everything from Led Zeppelin to Steely Dan to Hendrix to a lot of Aerosmith. I loved Bowie at the time. I was really into Bowie. And anyway, we did our original set, and our manager took it to L.A., and where he met the manager for Ike Turner. And Ike Turner played him we had 8 tracks on a demo that we had done in Detroit. Took us 12 hours to do, I believe. And he heard it and he went, yeah, I love it. And so he sent the president of, not the president, but the vice president of United Artists at the time, which was Ike Turner's label. He sent him to Detroit to see us. And that's when it all started, more in a major league. Mm-hmm. And they moved us to Detroit, moved us to LA, rather.
Okay.
Yeah.
And he also mentioned, too, you guys also moved to the UK as well. So.
Yeah. And then later on I moved, that was a few years later, a lot of years later. But then I moved to the UK, and I had some contacts here and did some demos here and did some demo work. And eventually I met innessibun, and that's a great pairing, Malone-Sibun band, and we're still doing shows, and we did an album called Come Together, and now we've got one called Ashes to Dust.
That's interesting. And how'd you guys first meet?
Pete?
Well, I was at Mystic Records, which was also an agency, but I was doing the promotion there, and I think I saw Marcus at the, you opened for bbking at the Albert Hall, didn't you?
Yeah, I did, yeah.
But the week before that, I saw you at a jam. And I thought, wow, this guy should be far better than this. And blow me down a week later, he's at the Albert Hall with bbking. And then I got a call. I can't remember how it happened, but I got a call from you because you had that Blue Radio album out, right?
Right.
And
yeah.
You're looking for a representation at the time, and And I just thought,
management.
And I thought, man, this sounds like Paul Rodgers, and he still does, for a black dude. Or maybe it should be the other way around. Paul Rodgers sounded like a black dude rather than you sounding like Paul Rodgers. Either way,
anybody can copy Paul Rodgers these days.
Well, yeah, these days. But this was a real proper recorded album 20 years ago or more, and I thought this guy's got a great voice. Then I realised he could write songs like he does, And years later, I've had the privilege of actually working with him on this Black Pearl project, and you suddenly realise the guy, I know I'm just saying it because he's here, but the guy's not only a great singer, a great songwriter, he's a great arranger, and he's got a vision, and I'm just really humbled to be part of that,
Well, so am I. It's amazing. It's an amazing project.
It is amazing too. And Marcus, you also did, Marcus, Blue Radio, Let the Sun Shine In, Stand or Fall. Maybe you can just give us a quick rundown on some of the albums and maybe talk about some of them and also talk about some of the songs. And Pete, if you want to join in, I'm sure you listen to them. Feel free to do so.
Yeah, well, before he does, that Stand or Fall album was fantastic. And I got to say, Mike, everybody. I'm jumping in here, but everybody hurt because of COVID. But Marcus and Innes had this album out called Come Together, which he'll tell you about, which uniformly got fantastic reviews everywhere. And they were just about to hit the road, and then it all stopped. Yeah. But I guess there's a million musicians got the same story. Mm-hmm. Except they didn't cut an album as good as that.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Marcus.
Yeah. Well, yeah. First album obviously was with UA. And it's still with EMI Capital, and it gets re-released every few years. Another company will re-release it. It's on Candy Records now.
It's called Marcus.
Yeah, it's called Marcus. My first album in the UK. No, that was with Gene Black, who ended up playing with Joe Cocker actually, and he also played with Hart. Then I moved on. One More Time album was recorded here. One of my favorite songs that I've ever written, the title song, One More Time. That was my first real dive into more what I call blues. And then after that came Walking Shoes with a horn section, which was very to most blues fans, they really liked it. Then I went a bit harder with Blue Radio, a bit harder with the Hurricane album. And then I had Let the Sun Shine In, which is a bit harder. Stand or Fall. Gradually, I started going back to more of a hard rock thing, then I met Innes he played with a Led Zeppelin singer,
Robert Plant.
I met him, and he loves blues. He's an excellent blues player, and we wrote the album Come Together, which is great. And unfortunately, a week late after we put it out, we spent a lot of money on promo, but unfortunately, the crash came with the pandemic, and all our gigs got canceled, so we really didn't get a chance to push it, but we're still together. We stuck together, and we're still doing stuff. We just released a new EP, actually, called Ashes to Dust.
Yeah. I was just going to ask you about that, Ashes to Dust, to talk about that. And, of course, Better Man won numerous awards and, a lot of accolades. And Ashes to Dust, getting some good reviews and just like an up and coming, and got to listen to it. It's like, wow, amazing, some of your stuff.
Yeah. Have you heard it?
I got to listen to it. And it's like,
you got to listen to it. Okay.
And Peter got to listen to some of your show too on your podcast as well. So it's like, you've got some great stuff out there. It's like, I've become a fan instantly right away. So.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Well, the whole thing about that, here we are talking about Marcus and Innes and everybody else. It's independent music, and the fact that we can talk on a radio station like this and actually promote independent music is really important for me, and that's what my shows is all about, really. I mean, I might play Zeppelin once in a while, but generally speaking, it'll be guys or women who are out there touring, and you want to support them, you know.
Mm-hmm. And of course, the fact that you also won 2 major blues awards, and you also, dedicated service. You guys are really dedicated. Talk about your awards, guys. Both of you. Talk about brag. Come on, you Marcus.
Well, I'll tell you. Let me just tell you about that award, right? One of them, the one that actually, there's 2. I've won a few, but the first one I ever won was completely out of the blue. That was fantastic. But about 5 years later, I won the European one. Now, that meant an awful lot to me because I went to Finland, I lived in France, people know me in Holland and all this kind of stuff. And you don't know, like you might, you'd be on the mic talking to your listeners out there, and they write to you now and again, and they even phone you sometimes, not very often. You know?
or get text nowadays, too, or it's like...
Yeah, the text and all the rest of it. But then when something like that comes along and suddenly they vote for you like that, and you go, wow, you know, people are out there and they are listening, and it's a great feeling. Let's be honest about it, you know. It's kind of a validation of being here, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yes, it is. It is definitely. Of course, Marcus, you can attest that as well, winning some awards too. And, feel free to talk as well.
Well, I've been nominated for a lot of awards here, but I don't think I actually won any, except for when Blues in Britain put out Best Song of the Year. I got Best Song of the Year on Blues in Britain 3 years running, I think it was. And for... what is on Blue Radio? Oh, Walking Shoes had a song on it, and Blue Radio and Hurricane. Yeah, I had 3 songs nominated, and was nominated for Best Singer of the Year, but that didn't quite happen. I don't know why.
and Best Rock Blues Album
and Best Rock Blues Album. Yeah.
Yes, indeed, too. And of course, we'll talk about your latest project, Black Pearl, in just 1 minute. But first, listen to the Mike Wagner Show at themikewagnershow.com, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. Looking at a professional website without breaking your budget? Sonic Web Studios is the answer. Sonic Web Studios offers fast, affordable custom web designs that blow the competition away. Call today, 1-800-303-3960. That's 1-800-303-3960. Or email to support@sonicwebstudios.com. Mention the Mike Wagner Show. Get 20% off your first project. Sonic Web Studios. Take your image to the next level. Also, time to give official shout out to our official sponsor of the Mike Wagner Show, international warring author Mia Molson-Zia. If you love fast-paced mysteries, you love Missing by Mia Molson-Zia, available on Amazon in paperback and ebook. Missing is fast-paced and intriguing with an unforgettable twist. Takes place in 4 countries, 2 strangers, 1 target, where truth is an illusion and those you love will be the first to go missing. It's available on Amazon in paperback and ebook. Missing by Mia Molson-Zia has garnered great reviews, and Eve Levin enjoys by Howard celebrities, including Joanna Cassidy, Forbes Riley, and many others. So grab your copy today for it goes Missing by Mia Molson-Zia. Available on Amazon. Also, check out the Mike Wagner Show at themikewagnershow.com on over 30 podcast platforms. Coming soon to Hamilton Radio and a few other networks. Take the Mike Wagner Show with you on any mobile device. Subscribe to the Mike Wagner Show on the YouTube channel. Follow the Mike Wagner Show on Instagram and Twitter today. And for great gift ideas, go to Amazon.com and check out the Mike Wagner Show podcast. And for more great gift ideas, go to Amazon.com/Mia Molson-Zia for great books, merchandise, and more. Also, check out the Mike Wagner Show and make sure you donate and support the Mike Wagner Show at themikewagnershow.com. Also, Anchor FM, PayPal, themikewagnershow.com. You can also buy me a coffee at buymeacoffee.com with the Mike Wagner Show, and make sure you do so today. Well, here are 2 terrific gentlemen, Marcus Malone from Detroit, Michigan, and well-known guitarist and played for bbking, bobseger, iggypop, played with innessibun, and getting together with Pete Feenstra, 40 years of broadcast excellence, writer, promoter, and also DJ and everything else. And he also wrote a book as well, too. We'll try to squeeze that in. And you guys came together as Black Pearl. And tell us about Black Pearl. And how'd you guys first come about the project?
Well, I'll tell you, here's how it happened. The other guy we should mention, absolutely should mention, is Muddymanninen, who was 14 years in Wishboneash and was in a very famous Finnish band produced by Tom Dowd, who used to do the Allman Brothers. And anyway, I reviewed his album, his solo album, which is called The River Flows, I think. And it was an excellent album. And I said, really, Muddy, he had a lot of guests on it, a lot of different styles going on. And I said, this is a really excellent album. And he said to me, yeah, it's okay. He said, but I'm not really good at lyrics. And I said, well, you know, and anyway, I can write lyrics. So I said, well, let's see what happens, you know. So we just took it. Now, bear in mind that this was when we were all locked down. This is the important thing about this whole project. And how it all started, so me and Muddy started as a writing project, really, just to see if we could work together and see where it would go. Because I knew that he could do a lot of different stuff. Anyway, we cut four basic tracks. No, before we cut them, we wrote 4 basic tracks. And it went really well. And then Muddy said, well, the problem is my voice isn't quite strong enough. We could really do with, you know. And I said, wait a minute, I know somebody would be perfect for this. You know? Whether or not ordinarily he would have done it is another matter. But because I think, and Marcus will maybe tell you or otherwise, because we were all locked down and there wasn't a lot going on, I said, I'm going to make that call. And I called Marcus up. And straight away, he was the right guy for the songs. It's a kind of rootsy album, you know. There's funk on there, there's blues on there, there's rock on there, there's even a bit of Latino, a lot of different things. And perhaps only Marcus could have tackled all that stuff, you know. And so he was the guy. And then straight away we had this idea of an EP, didn't we? That was the original.
Yeah. Originally ended up writing 2 albums worth of material.
Yeah, and it just took off. And every time we finished one, we went on to another. And I think, you know, the bottom line is it is like a lot of music projects at the time. It was very much the music of a time and place. We were all locked down, but we had a focus. And I think, Muddy keeps saying to me, I can't believe we did all this amount of stuff in this amount of time. And Then the problem is you have 30 odd songs and you've got to figure out which ones you're going to use, you know.
Really got one in the can, ready to go.
Yeah.
And what did you guys base your lyrics on in that album?
Well, that's, you know, some of those things I think looking back, some of them were to do with traveling. I did a lot of traveling, right? And for example, there's 2 songs on there. One of them's called With My Baby by My Side. And the other one is, I think, part of Price on Love, the single. There's a lot of imagery there based on deserts and the sun going down and the changing of the colours, you know, and the way that combines with emotional feelings at a time. You know, it's almost like a painting in some respects, and very, very, very abstract, really. But then, of course, you've got to bring it together for a song, and you've got to tell a story and a narrative. I think we did that, but also, you know, some things Muddy would come up with something on his guitar or something, and then Marcus would phrase something on another song, and that would kickstart another idea. You know, so it's it was very open-minded to start with, you know, but then when I realised that this was a band, and there's other people like Roger Innes on bass and Moz Gamble, great keyboard player, friend of Marcus's, and some of the other people that Muddy brought in, it just kind of all gelled together. It was very organic. What do you think, Marcus?
It was very organic. I mean, Muddy is very, he just comes up with idea after idea after idea. I mean, I think we'd still be doing some lockdown would still go. We come out with about 4 albums worth by now, but lockdown ended, and obviously we all had other things going on. I had a couple other projects going on, which had to be finished on time because I just signed a record deal for one of them, and so now we got what we have now is just fantastic. I think I love it. It's brilliant, and like I said, there's at least another album there waiting to go.
It sounds like you guys can put out another album without, being in the studios, like with so many tracks, you could easily form a second album. And I like the one you got in there. You got Angel Town to start the album. You got Cheap Perfume. I like that one. Delivery Man and Mexican Romance. Maybe just a bit more about the songs. Cheap Perfume. It's like, makes you want to buy cheap perfume, doesn't it?
Well, you start off with the guy struggling in LA. Okay, trying to make it. LA is a metaphor for any big metropolis, really. In fact, we mentioned, the Big Apple, New York in that song as well. And then Cheap Perfume is when he's just cutting loose. There's almost a thread going through these songs, But then there's Delivery Man, which is the kind of idea of a regular Joe on, he's got all these women on the go in his job. But actually that one became, because of Muddy, that became a kind of subliminal Little Feat song. And it actually got played on a Little Feat radio station in Texas somewhere, which I was really pleased about.
Oh, wow.
And people have also mentioned the band in that regard. It's kind of almost Americana, in fact. And that's the other musical influence I didn't mention when I just reeled them off earlier on.
The Americana, yeah, and it's good you mentioned as well too. We've had some Americana as well too, and you got some amazing stuff that's out there. Too bad it doesn't get played on the big time mainstream radio being all the major networks, and having Americana. It's like there's just great stuff out there.
Well, it's all about songwriting, and the one good thing about the business now seems to be that it seems to be in Nashville rather than LA. Mm-hmm. And that being the case, whatever you think about Nashville, ultimately it's about songwriting, which has got to be a good thing. Mm-hmm. We've been through all the Guitar Heroes, we've been through all the video generation, we've been through all this stuff, and it's all come back to songs. Hopefully, mm-hmm. Hopefully that will keep the business going. Keep music going. Really.
Mm-hmm. And certainly did. And Marcus, I'm sure you can attest the same thing.
Yeah, I write constantly. Like I said, I just finished more of an R&B, kind of retro R&B, 60s type album that I was working also during lockdown. I was working on that as well, and afterwards. And it was all about the songs to me. But it was a completely different sort of statement. But I loved it, and that's why we got the deal. It was about the songs, and it also got me a publishing deal finally. So
nice.
I was also going to introduce Pete and Black Pearl to the same people that I'm doing a publishing deal with. So hopefully we can get some of these songs on Netflix or something.
That's where a lot of the music has been coming from, where it's like, Netflix and some of the others as well, too. Just bits and pieces to go and segue. That's also really good exposure. Mm-hmm. That's a big trend now.
Yes. Anything of that nature. But you got to have a good publishing company to place the songs, or they have their ear to the ground, as it were, and they know what they're looking for, because you can get a call from them saying, we need a song like this. And then if you have some writers available like Pete and Muddy, you can explain, then that, you've got a few days where you can put that together and throw it back to them.
A few days.
Take this, please. But no, they do that. But I think all publishing houses have that. They have their, a group of, there's a different type of publishing deal with writers, and they put their writers together to create the music that these film companies are looking for specifically.
A bit like the old Brill building,
Yeah.
Sit down and write this. We need this.
Yeah. Yeah, but they do a lot of that now. I didn't know that until recently.
There's a song on the album called "With My Baby by My Side," which is the last song, and several people have said it could be in a David Lynch movie because it's got this.
Yeah, Twin Peaks fame. Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
It's got this kind of atmospheric feel to it. It was all about Muddy's eerie guitar playing on that. And by the way, here's an interesting thing about this project that people often forget about, and this applies to both Muddy and Marcus. They're both great arrangers. Now, who talks about arrangers nowadays?
Yeah, that's the question. It's almost like it's thrown to the wayside, it seems like.
And believe me when I tell you, I had some ideas for this, but by the time these two guys had worked on them, they were just something almost cinematic, being as we're talking about that. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And you can only get that with really good arrangements. And it's a lost art, almost, Mm-hmm. In fact, I'm amazed, Marcus, that you never produced.
Hey, that's a venture for you. Pete will give you the tools. You got the opportunity. The rest is up to you. You can produce. And in fact, if I need something done, I can call you, Marcus, be a producer.
Okay. I don't know.
No, but the whole thing, Black Pearl, I mean, people ask about the concept, but the whole idea is just digging deep. It's an essential thing. You're digging deep for songs. You're digging deep for the performance. And you're digging deep to to try and create a new project. And I think we did. It was all right.
Mm-hmm. And I think you guys did really well. And where can we find Black Pearl and all your other works at, guys?
Yeah, you can find
we have a Black Pearl website is almost together, but if you look on, we have a Facebook site. Is that right?
Yeah.
Black Pearl UK.
UK, yeah.
And there's a link on there that will take you to a spot where you can buy safely, security-wise, the Black Pearl CD. And we don't have that many, so buy quick.
Yes,
we didn't manufacture a lot, so.
Mm-hmm. And certainly get before it's gone. And what's coming up for Marcus and Pete, we'll find out just 1 minute. You listen to The Mike Wagner Show at themikewagnershow.com, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. Also brought to you by our official sponsor, The Mike Wagner Show, international warring author Mia Molson's of Missing, available on Amazon and paperback and ebook. We'll be back with Marcus Malone and Pete's Feenstra Black Pearl after this time out.
The Mike Wagner Show is powered by Sonic Web Studios. If you're looking to start or upgrade your online presence, visit www.sonicwebstudios.com for all of your online needs. Call 1-800-303-3960 or visit us online at www.sonicwebstudios.com to get started today. Mention The Mike Wagner Show and get 20% off your project. Sonic Web Studios. Take your image to the next level.
Hey everybody, my name is Forbes Riley, and I'm an American actress and a TV host. And I was delighted when I got my copy of Missing, which is Extraordinary Relation of Ordinary People based on a real life relationship. It's well written. It's amazing. You know, it talks about a man who has lost his wife and his daughter, and it's very well done. I'm going to highly recommend that you go get your copy of Missing. It is a powerful, exciting read. Mr. Mian Moshe Zia. He is the author of Missing. And I want to give a big shout out and a kiss all the way halfway around the world to my dear friend. Check him out at Mia's website. It's called www.miamoshenzea.com. Missing, available on Amazon. Again, I'm Forbes Riley, and I will see you again soon. Bye-bye.
Hey, this is Ray Powers, and boy, are you in luck. Right place, right time. Tuned in to The Mike Wagner Show. You heard me.
We're back with Marcus Malone and Pete Feenstra of Black Pearl here on the Mike Wagner Show. And guys, you've had a great collaboration. I love hearing about what you guys had as well, too. And what can you expect from both of you in 2022 and beyond?
Well, when you write songs, as Marcus said earlier on, it's constantly writing. And I've got 4 projects on the go at the moment, but because this Black Pearl thing just took off, we just never stopped, and that became the main focus. But I've still got 4 other albums that 2 are ready to drop and 2 are nearly recorded. So that's going to take up some time as well. And I'm still working away with Muddy. He keeps sending me these incredible guitar parts and musical ideas, and I'm sure I'm going to ping some more over to Marcus soon. And of course, we've got this second album that Marcus has already mentioned that needs mixing and mastering and what have you. And hopefully we can do that in the future. I mean, we've had a very good response to this, which is great. It's all you can ask for. And it seems to fit it certainly fits what they call the heritage market, Mike, which is, people who still buy physical product and support live music in clubs and things like that. And that's where we're at.
Mm-hmm. So
I know Marcus has got this deal now with this R&B thing. You should ask him about that. I mean, I've heard some of it. It's just killer.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, it's I'm writing with another writer, a young guy, and it's very retro R&B combination of like James Brown, Motown type feeling. Very Midwest, where I'm from. As a matter of fact, we're thinking of calling it Marcus Malone and the Detroit Rollers because the Hustlers
that's
is taken.
A good one. I like
that. so it's definitely the 60s, 70s type vibe, but there's a lot of good messages in the music, racial messages as well, things that a lot of people don't want to talk about that. You can talk about, and I think in this type of music, just good dance tracks on the other side of the river. Anyway, I'm excited about that, and we're excited about going out live next year and doing some festivals through the record label. I'm excited about also keeping an eye out on Pete and Muddy, see if we're going to go out and put a band together to back up the music. I'd love to do something live with Muddy because he's a fantastic guitarist. And it's just a matter of, putting it together. And that's what I'm doing right now. And I'm still playing with Innes. We're going all over the world, literally. We got a gig in Bosnia. I'm going, is it safe? We're going to Bosnia, Netherlands, Germany, all of that. I love playing live. So.
Oh, my gosh. I mean, you got a full plate, guys. I'm looking forward to what you guys have coming up. And who do you consider biggest influences in your careers?
Biggest influence in my career? Motown, probably. Definitely Motown. And early Motown and blues. And then I got into Bowie, obviously, and Hendrix. I'd say those are the three biggest things.
Mm-hmm. And then, Pete, how about you?
That's a tough call.
Yeah, it's hard to narrow it down, isn't it? I'm thinking,
Marcus, it's okay. You can help Pete. Okay, you can help him. It's okay.
Yeah. Well, my musical taste is very eclectic. My workplace tends to be blues, rock and blues and everything else. If you listen, my radio show tends to be rock and blues. But when I'm reviewing stuff or when I'm interviewing people, it's a bit like your show, Mike. Sometimes I drag in people from a completely different perspective, whether or not the listeners can always relate to that, I don't know, but it's something I enjoy doing. I like ambient music. I like jazz, a lot of different things, funk, funk rock, a lot of different, not just rock, blues, and of course singer-songwriter stuff. And being as I've been writing songs now for the last few years, I'm drawn towards people who write interesting lyrics, of course. So there's that side of it. And plus, I'm going to plug. I've been 5 years working on this book, which is meant to celebrate the 40 years of doing all this. And I've done a whole ton of interviews, and I've interviewed people so I can remember stuff that I'd already forgotten. If that makes sense.
Oh, something? I forgot to mention that book, too. Who's your favorite interview?
Oh, my favorite out of all of them?
It's the one thing that pops in your mind, like your favorite or was the most hilarious, unusual, or anything like that, or just really stood out to you?
Well, I'll tell you, it's really about people and funny people, really. And the late, great, you may not have heard of him, but the late, great Jimmy Carl Black, who was Frank Zappa's original drummer, one of his original drummers, who was a native Indian.
Oh, my goodness.
Ended up living, he used to call him the Indian of the group, and he ended up in Germany. And, I could start an interview now with him and say, like, Jimmy, we're going to half an hour interview, and I could be there a week later and he'd still be talking.
You walk out, get a cup of coffee, he'll still be talking, or you go.
And another person like that is who you probably do know is Ian Anderson of Jethro Tull.
Oh my gosh, he's one of my favorites. Jethro Tull's my favorite. I love it.
Now, Ian Anderson, you would say, "Welcome to the show, Ian Anderson." And in the first 20 minutes of the interview, he would qualify which Ian Anderson he is, as opposed to Ian Anderson, the folk, Ian Anderson, the author. And you could actually just introduce him, and he would, if you didn't stop him, he'd still be talking, because he's just got this flow of conscious, very hugely intelligent and interesting guy, great musician, of course. And, so he would be one, very, very interesting guy. Loads of them. But, I mean... you've really put me on the spot there.
Well, isn't that supposed to be a job of a presenter to put people on the spot? I mean, that's the whole thing.
Yeah, so, and a lot of people who are no longer with us, sadly. That would be another. Luther Allison, great blues guy.
Oh, he's great.
What an interesting guy, and the sort of guy that would have a great conversation with you after the interview finishes. You know, that's what makes it for me, really. You know,
I think
Taj
that's really
Mahal. Taj Mahal. You ever heard of
Mahal.
Taj
Yes,
Mahal?
I remember.
I mean, another guy who is so well versed in everything. You know, again, he can talk brilliantly about music, about world music, about blues, about rock, about calypso, about all this stuff. But he could talk to you about politics. He could talk to you about the weather. He could talk to you about food. He's really into his food. And, you know, and he taught me something, Mike, as an interviewer, sorry. You know, you've got to be able to talk outside the box with people like that. Not just the music that you're there to talk about, but, you know, hugely impressive guy, you know. I'm really humbled to be in his presence. Another one.
That sounds really interesting. I really like that. And what's the best advice you guys can give to anybody at this point?
Generally?
Anything.
Just be honest.
Yeah, be honest, true, and if you love it, do it. I mean, don't stop. That's my motto. I'm still at it.
I think you got to be passionate. I mentioned it earlier on. You've got to love what you know. The greatest thing that ever happened to me in my life was I ended up working in music, and I love it. You know, I've never had a day job that I didn't enjoy. When I was a music librarian, I absolutely loved it. And the fact I ended up working in music was just beyond a dream for me, you know.
Oh my God!
I mean, and I'm a promoter. You know, I've been there on a wet Tuesday night when there's 10 people in the room, all of that stuff. But at the end of the night, I still got off on the music, and that's all I can say. You know?
That certainly does sound amazing, too. Once again, Marcus Malone and Pete Feenstra of Black Pearl here on the Mike Wagner Show. Guys, a very big thank you for your time. You've been absolutely fantastic. Looking forward to having you on soon. Make sure you keep us up to date. Keep in touch. We'd love to have you guys back. And once again, tell us about your upcoming projects, what's your website, how do people contact you, or can people purchase, check out the album, or check out your works, and Pete, especially check out your show.
Pete Feenstra Rock and Blues Show, which goes out Tuesday nights at 2000 hours on Get Ready to Rock Radio. I've also got the interview show on Sunday nights at 2000 hours, the Pete Feenstra feature. www.getreadytorockradio.com is where you'll find me. By the way, it's not just me. David Randall, who runs the whole show, is absolutely great guy. Broadcasts 18 hours a day, seven nights a week. And been going 20 years. And
wow.
Glad to be part of it, yeah. I've been on there probably about 10. I lose track now, but the station's been going 20 years. And, that's me as regards broadcasting. As regards everything else, I'm www.feenstra, Feenstra, which is a Dutch name, Frisian name, .co.uk. It's for my gigs. Well, of course, gigs are struggling at the moment. They're still out there. They're still happening. It's not easy, but we're going to carry on as best we can, aren't we,
Marcus? Certainly do so. And Marcus, where can we find your work?
marcusmalone.com is one. And, of course, Black Pearl website, when it's up and running, it should be up and running in about a few more days. But that's blackpearlmusic22.com. And then there's the stuff I do with innessibun, which is malonesibun.com. And those are the main websites for me. So get in touch.
We certainly would do so. Guys, a very big thank you for your time. You've been totally amazing. Glad we all got together. Looking forward to having you again soon. Make sure you keep us up to date. Keep in touch. We'd love to have you back. We wish you guys all the best. You guys got a great future ahead of you.
Thank you.
Absolute blast.
The Mike Wagner Show is powered by Sonic Web Studios. If you're looking to start or upgrade your online presence, visit www.sonicwebstudios.com for all of your online needs. Call 1-800-303-3960 or visit us online at www.sonicwebstudios.com to get started today. Mention the Mike Wagner Show and get 20% off your project. Sonic Web Studios. Take your image to the next level.
Hey everybody, my name is Forbes Riley, and I'm an American actress and a TV host. And I was delighted when I got my copy of Missing, which is Extraordinary Relation of Ordinary People based on a real life relationship. It's well written. It's amazing. It talks about a man who has lost his wife and his daughter, and it's very well done. I'm going to highly recommend that you go get your copy of Missing. It is a powerful, exciting read. Mr. Mian Moshe Zia. He is the author of Missing. And I want to give a big shout out and a kiss all the way halfway around the world to my dear friend. Check him out at Mia's website. It's called www.miamotionsea.com. Missing, available on Amazon. Again, I'm Forbes Riley, and I will see you again soon. Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to The Mike Wagner Show, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. The Mike Wagner Show can be heard on Spreaker, Spotify, iHeartradio, iTunes, YouTube, Anchor FM, Radio Public, and themikewagnershow.com. Please support our program with your donations at themikewagnershow.com. Join us again next time for another great episode of The Mike Wagner Show.